Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope you are gearing up and studying for your PMP exam rigorously. This is Neha and I welcome you to part 3 of project management concepts. As you already know by now, I am currently a student of Ryerson University and I bring to you quick and short videos regarding project management. I assure you that if you go through my lectures, it will really help you ace your PMP exam. So without further ado, let's get started. The contents for this session will be life cycle of the project and explanation of different phases in the life cycle. So the life cycle of the project consists of 4 phases. Now you'll see that I have mentioned 5 phases in the diagram below, which is initiating, planning, performing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. So how do I say that the life cycle has only 4 phases? This is because the performing and monitoring and controlling phase move together. When we perform the work, it's necessary to monitor as well. So we consider both these phases as one. So in totality, there are 4 phases in a life cycle. We'll start with the initiating phase. What steps do we need to take while initiating a project? Now, in the initiating phase, the projects are identified. This identification is done by the sponsor, which could be the person or an organization, and his willingness to provide the funds. Now, needs are identified as a part of organizational strategic process. Organizational strategic process. Now you might ask me, what is organizational strategic process? How do we define it? At a particular time, a company has a lot of needs. Like, I'll have a lot of needs. Let's take an example. I own a cafe that serves Chinese food. My needs could be owning a delivery van, having a website, or it could be expanding my cafe. We need to choose that which need among these two. Like, should we choose this or should we choose this in our process to update or grow our business? Which of the needs should I choose? My choice will depend upon the long-term goal of a company. If a company has been established to provide food to its customer comfortably, then we will invest in the delivery system, maybe having a website or having a delivery truck. But if the company or the organization has been established to provide a fine dining experience to its customers, then maybe I should choose the cheap rental space that is available, right? So my decision would be based on the company's long-term strategic plan. Next step is selection. After identifying the needs that would help us achieve our long-term goals, the next step would be to choose one among the list of needs. Why do we need to choose? Because obviously we have limited resources available and we can work on only one thing at a time. Therefore, we need to prioritize. Now, here, if I have a restaurant and I have these 2 options now to achieve the my company's long-term goal of providing comfort to the customers. So I have these 2 needs that have been identified, but I won't be able to invest in both these needs together. So I need to choose one among them, right? So in this case, how should we choose? We can choose this as per our priority and the resources available. Say for instance, I have only $100 available, then maybe I will invest in the website. And say for instance, I have maybe over $2,000 available, then I will go for the truck to arrange the delivery. Usually the company has a set of process to identify and select the needs. Next step is the formalization of the project or of the need that we have selected after the second step. We can do this by creating a project charter. The project charter mentions justification of the project objectives and expected benefits, funds authorized by our sponsor, major deliverables that we can attain when the project is complete. Next is the completion date. We have required reviews and approvals because whenever we create a document, it requires further reviews or approvals from the management or from team members, etc. So we need to mention that as well in a project charter. And the last thing is key assumptions. Like, what are our assumptions? If I am saying that this particular building will be constructed within 2 months, my assumption is that the weather conditions will be favorable for my team to work. If the weather conditions are not favorable, if it's raining, if it's snowing, then the project can be delayed. It will not be completed in 2 months. The last step is outsourcing. In some cases, the organization decides to use external resources to perform the project. For example, say for instance, I'm running a catering business. I can outsource the packaging of the cooked meals or the delivery of the cooked meals. When we think about outsourcing, we need to think about RFP, which is request for proposal. The request for proposal mentions all the requirements of the service that needs to be outsourced. After this, the suppliers can submit their proposal and bids on the basis of the RFP. The organization can evaluate the proposals and select the one they like to go ahead. I hope it's clear. We'll go to the next slide now, which is planning. In a project, we always need to plan our action. If we execute a project without a plan, it will lead to a lot of commotion. Now, why is that? If we don't have a plan and we are knee deep in a problem, we won't know where we stand. We have nothing to reference to. If we are doing good, if we are doing okay, if we are doing bad, if we will be able to complete the project within the time period, we have nothing. So that's why we need to plan our action, because it works as a reference. So what is the main use of planning? It acts as reference. Let's discuss how we can create a baseline plan. First thing is defining scope. Now, we have already discussed this in our previous lecture, that scope is the list of tasks or list of activities that need to be done in order to achieve the project objectives. Okay? So first step is to define the scope and delivery. Step 2 is to determine the budget. Now we already know what budget has been approved for that particular project, and we have that information in the project charter. But what we do in the baseline plan is to decide how are we going to consume that budget over time, over the project schedule. So we need to plan this. The third step is to define a schedule and then create a schedule management. Again, we already have a completion date which is mentioned in the project charter. What we need to do is define a schedule. Say for instance, I will say in the schedule that I will complete all the documentation within 1 month. I will do the testing in the 3rd month. So that's how we need to define a schedule, by giving a time. The next step is to define the activity. After we define the scope, now we need to define the activities, and also we need to sequence the activities. The last one is defining the risks. Once we define the risk of the project, we can also come up with a risk management plan. So I have mentioned here two additional steps, which is defining quality standards. Because these days, the quality standards or the quality management is also a very important thing, and we cannot just do inspection at the end of the project, right? The quality has to be maintained in each and every process. That's why it's very important to define the quality standards and create a quality management plan in the start. Step 7 is to create a change management plan. When we execute the project, there are a lot of changes, verbal or written, but it's very important to manage that change and then forecast the schedule or the budget again. The next phase is performance. Once we have the baseline plan, the project is all set to proceed. The project manager will lead the team to execute the plan and complete the tasks for achieving the project objectives. During this phase, the resources get consumed. When the phase is complete, we get the deliverable. Right? Once the project is complete, we accomplish the objectives, we get the deliverable. Most cases, the customer is satisfied that the objective is complete as per the specification, budget and on time. Next is that what I discussed earlier is establishment of a change control system. The sooner the changes are identified, the lesser impact it has on a project. What does this mean? For example, if the sponsor wants me to construct a 3-storied house. Once I complete the construction, the sponsor decides that he doesn't want a 3-storied house, he wants a 2-storied house. So I need to dismantle the 3rd story, right? I need to dismantle it. And this will again cost me money and it will also cost me hours. Therefore, the sooner the changes are identified, the lesser impact it has. The next step is that the significant changes must be approved by the customer. Otherwise, it will lead to increase in the budget and increase in man hours, which will affect the project. And we should always try that every approval is done in writing rather than verbal. Next phase in the project life cycle is monitoring and controlling. It is necessary to monitor the progress of the project so that we can achieve the project objective as per plan. As I already mentioned, that this monitoring and controlling phase works along with the performing phase. So that's what the relation is. For this, we need to keep a check on the correct performance of the project and collect all the data with. For this, we need to keep a check on the current performance of the project and we need to collect data on the regular basis for the current performance. After this, For this, the PM needs to be in touch with the team regularly to understand and collect the data for the current progress of the project. Next is comparison. In this case, we already have a baseline plan. The project manager needs to compare the baseline plan with the current progress to see if we are on track or if we are delayed or if we are on track to meet the set schedule and set budget. Right? But if it's not, right, if the comparison reveals that we are falling behind the project schedule or we are overspending, then the corrective action needs to be taken. Then he needs to discuss his action with the sponsor or the customer and get the project back on track. After taking the corrective action, the next step is to forecast. So the project management again forecasts the schedule or forecasts the budget and everything, and he recreates the project baseline forecast. The last phase of the project life cycle is closing. I know that the closing phase after execution seems a very tardy job, but we need to close the project as per this. The first thing is that we need to collect and make the final payment. The second step is we need to evaluate who did what in the project and then recognize their hard work. We also need to conduct an evaluation of the project as a whole regarding how did we perform the project and reflect if we could have done something differently. We also need to archive the project documents so that we can access them if and when required. We also need to draft a lesson learned document. This will help us or the other team attempting similar projects. Lastly, we need to obtain feedback from the sponsor or the customer to assess the level of customer satisfaction. If the customer is happy, we may ask if we can do some other project with them without going through the RFP process. With this, we come to the end of today's lecture. If you have any doubts or any questions, you can send me an email at neha.01209@gmail.com, or you can mention your comments down below and I will respond to them. If you would like any notes or if you want me to include something more in my lecture, please do let me know. And if you're finding these videos helpful, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. It will really help me out. See you until next time. Bye.